All right, this is the Wednesday night group. I'm Poyette Hedgecock.
Burgundy Hansen.
And Christy Joisius.
And we're going to go ahead and start with Christy with our speech.
Okay. And my topic was cohabitation/delayed marriage. Marriage is an essential part of life. What was once a union that was anxiously desired and prepared for has become an event that is viewed as an undesired trend, which seems to be the movement that people are adopting who find that the separations and the delaying of marriage have been cause for concern due to their documented detrimental effects on families, children, communities, and individuals alike. Oh no. Oh no, I'm sorry. Independent birth. It is important for people to be independent and strive to be self-sufficient. These actions are all good things. As we are continuously reminded, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. This statement holds true when it comes to the increase of availability of assisted reproductive technology. Successful and independent women are finding that they no longer have the need for a commitment pregnant with the help of doctors. They felt as though marriage would cause a negative effect. Modern medicine was their answer to a fulfilling life, one where they could become the mothers they always wanted to be, without the strains and burdens of marriage, but the companionship of their children. One problem that we are now seeing is that children are being raised in households with never married parents. This kind of environment causes instability in families. For those who feel a bit more old-fashioned, cohabitation has become the substitute for marriage and as a stepping stone for young adults to enter into adulthood. The desire to take on adult responsibilities, but the way they are going about them are not optimal. The practice of cohabitation is one that deviates from the social norm. It is affecting the well-being of children of the United States family. This stress comes from the possibility at risk of losing their parents than children and families with married parents. This is not to mention the cohabitation. From the information shared above, it is clear that cohabitation is paired with negative of the same, and that is not the made in observations. You cannot beat the facts. However, there is a group of individuals who find that cohabitation among middle-aged adults has improved their life expectancy and their mental health. The quality of their lives have been restored through the companionship of someone they're not fully committed to. As much as it is preferred that middle-aged adults have a wonderful life and great mental health, it is not the same as having children live in such an environment of uneducated, self-obsessed adults hoping for the best and taking things day by day. It is through committed the benefits of marriage, children, and commitment from a young age, and grow up to be respectful, law-abiding citizens. Well, there is an exception. In this case, and as it increases, we will continue to see an increase of its negative effects. Marriage is a beautiful goal and should be treated as such. We need to end the trend of delaying marriage and reignite the longing for legal unity. The courts and state legislatures have begun addressing the role of unmarried couples and the welfare needs they have as it pertains to the community and government. In 2003, the New Jersey Domestic Partnership Act was presented, and it was set in place to help those who were helping their partners with financial, emotional, and physical support and the establishment of a private network and function of cohabitating partnership is seen as beneficial in the eyes of the state legislature. Although they had these plans for helping out unwed couples, New Jersey statute did not follow through with all the benefits necessary to fulfill the promises made. And as these rules don't apply to most heterosexual many people or their family members. This act has the right idea when it comes to helping cohabitating couples at all. It goes to show that good intentions are not helpful, but actions are. This act does not replace the parent's responsibility in the home or help, for that matter, parents' responsibilities at all. With the education of how cohabitation affects children, then the family by making the couples responsible for their choices. With all of this information, it is safe to say that cohabitation is more detrimental than helpful. Sure, middle-aged adults need love and companionship. People living together is not the family as a unit. More benefits come from legally married people living together and raising their children, better for the family, parents, children, and community members alike. With all the ideas and intentions that legislatures have in this country, it is important to look at the facts and fight to protect the family and set forth rules that strongly encourage those who are living of aid, take all the energy to make real changes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good job.
I'm just writing out my.
I think I'm going to do it later. I'm like, I don't know how to do it, two things at once. Do you want me to start with my question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so kind of going along with these questions they asked, well, did you find any other upsides to cohabitation besides with the middle-aged people? And was there like research or anything that would say cohabitation is great for the family?
No, it was actually really hard for me to find upsides to cohabitation. So I got really lucky when I found that cohabitating middle-aged adults were reaping benefits from it.
That's good, especially in the first papers where you had to give a opposition too.
Yeah, I was just like, oh no.
It's kind of
I,
interesting that there's all these, I mean, that you couldn't find any of these reasons, and yet cohabitation is so prevalent.
People think it's easier, which is interesting because you get more benefits being married, and I don't know, I'd rather the benefits.
Yeah. All right, so my question is, other than the act you went over, is there any alternative, what was the, alternative or organizations that they can use, or anything else that can help, or I don't know how to, why I ask that question.
I think I understand it and Florida, but for sure Massachusetts, since it's so prevalent, they wanted to help them, and they were wanting to give cohabitating partnerships benefits that married couples were getting. And I thought that was really interesting because it's like people want, like the government wants people to get married, but they were giving them benefits, the same benefits that.
Mm. Perfect.
They didn't have much incentive to get married then.
Yeah.
Exactly, because they were getting welfare and like food services and things like that, and like child aid. Um, so I was just like, oh, okay. I feel like if I was cohabitating, I wouldn't feel the need to get married if I was getting the same things as married people.
It's interesting because when you're married, you have to go through divorce and like legally separate assets and benefits and stuff. So I wonder how if you just all of a sudden stop living together and if there's legal things occurring like benefits, how that works.
Yeah.
It's a little messy.
Am I going second? Is that what we
I think
decided?
so, yeah.
Okay. Let me pull up my, oh gosh, I'm nervous. Okay. So I'm Burgundy Hanson. My speech is on verbal and emotional abuse. All right. 1 in 4. That is how many women and teenage girls will endure repeated verbal abuse. 62% of tweens, ages 11 to 14, say they know friends who have been verbally abused, according to SaveVoices.org. This is something that is not new in the world, yet it is hard for people to talk about. Did you know only 33% of teens who are in a violent relationship ever told someone about it? Let's go over why. There's lack of awareness, they're scared, they're confusing it for love. Let's talk about the biggest issue other than the threat itself, lack of awareness. 82% of parents felt confident that they could recognize the signs if their child was being abused. Oh. But 58% could not correctly identify all the warning signs. This is a real issue. If people educated themselves and others about the warning signs, so many people could get the help they need before it's too late. Emotional and verbal abuse affects everyone, the victim and the victim's family. I know this from experience. I was in a relationship with a guy who was verbally and emotionally abusive. He yelled at me, called me every name in the book, and I all of a sudden found myself being the 1 in 4. And I was a part of the 33% who didn't tell anyone. And sadly, my parents were a part of the 58% that didn't know all the warning signs. Though they did know something was off, but never really brought it up to me. But that was the lowest I have ever been. I believed him every time he told me I was worthless. I believed I was the problem. I truly believed that if my parents knew the signs, it would have stopped way before it did. I had one friend who knew the warning signs and was brave enough to talk to me about it. It wasn't until then I realized I needed to do something. I am one of the lucky ones that figured it out and decided to leave before it got even worse. Though I made that choice, and I'm sure glad I did, my problem wasn't over. It takes time to heal from abuse of any kind. Even to this day, my own parents don't know how bad it got. I felt like I put myself in that situation, so I needed to fix myself, and eventually I did. But I would be lying if I told you that he no longer scared me. So what laws are there to protect anyone who is being abused verbally and emotionally? Abuse of any type can be known as domestic violence. For people being abused, they can go to a shelter where they are protected from their abuser, as well as get protection orders. In Idaho, the following legal aid services offices provide protection orders, divorce, custody under visitation, spousal and child support. But in order to be eligible, you must be the following: a victim of domestic violence, referred by domestic violence shelter, a low-income household, and without a lawyer. There are also things to help people heal. There are so many counselors who are willing to sit down and talk and provide people the proper ways to cope and move forward. Oftentimes, an abuser alienates the victim from their family, so they usually don't have a family to go to. A counselor could be greatly beneficial in this circumstance. So with all that being said, we need to educate ourselves on the warning signs of abuse so we can help others and ourselves. We need to talk about it as hard as it may be, but without doing this, the threat continues. Thank you.
Good job.
Nice.
I felt like I talked too fast during that. Sorry.
I wasn't
that was
timing. It was great.
All right, so what questions do you guys have for me?
A few things I wondered. What is the opposition there? It's kind of hard to argue. Did you find things for like freedom of speech or free speech
So,
when it comes to verbal?
yeah, that's kind of, So I feel like a lot of people don't know what can be considered as verbal abuse, but it could be as simple as, calling somebody names and just tearing somebody down, pretty much being a bully. But people could use the fact that, oh, I'm not really hurting them, I just called them, some name or whatever. But there's kind of a fine line between what's verbal abuse and what's just kind of sketchy to say, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like, it's kind of hard to tell what exactly.
And when you were researching for shelters, since you said verbal abuse fits into domestic violence,
Yes,
so
at least in
shelters
Idaho.
like are a safe haven for verbal abuse?
Yeah, I think the way that shelters work is if you feel unsafe because either, you're feeling threatened or whatever, I'm pretty sure a shelter will take you in.
Okay, one question that I have is, what are the warning signs associated with verbal
Abuse.
and emotional abuse? Yeah, like what were those signs that the parents weren't able to identify?
So I think the main signs is a change in personality. The person will become more closed and they won't be their same self, as well as you can tell if somebody's abusive by they will be controlling, they'll control their finances, who they talk to, they'll control, where they go. And so if you have a friend or a family member that you find used to go out but doesn't anymore, then that could be a sign. It could be if you're at some social event and he's having, or she is having to talk for the victim and answer everybody's questions, even if they're not talking to them. It's mainly just the control factor, and sometimes the way that person talks to the other person, you can tell. But if it's emotional, you will definitely see that person's personality change.
I'm sorry you had to experience that.
Yeah. I'm just glad that, well, like, I was really lucky because it was somebody from back home, and so it was like long distance. And so that part, I was really lucky. But, you know, who knows what would have happened if I would have been home, you know? I mean, if he was yelling at me over the phone, who knows?
What would happen together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just, you know, like I said, I had one friend who knew the warning signs of abuse, and because of him, I was able to realize myself that I needed out.
Well, thank you for sharing, because it definitely helps with the persuasive part, and I know
Yes,
it's
I
not
was
an
like,
easy
oh,
thing.
yeah, I was like, I don't know if I should put that in there because that's a little deep.
All right, should I go?
Yes.
All right.
And what's your email before you do go?
My email or Poyette's?
Brittany, your email. Also, I need Poyette's email.
Mine is Burgundy Hansen, BurgandyHansen @gmail.
Okay.
And did you see mine on the right?
Yeah.
Okay. And mine is about working mothers or the need for them to be home. All right, you guys ready?
Mhm.
All right. As a girl, I would run home from the bus stop, throw open the front door, drop my backpack, and start my search for my mom. All was well in my world as I found my mom. I let her know that I was home and about my day. Home sweet home, if Mom was there. As I got older, there were a few times I would come home from school with the same mission to find my mom, and my search would come up empty. She had been running errands or something, and I had made it home before her. I wasn't content to eat a snack, watch TV, start my homework, or practice piano, because something was missing, something was off. My mom was not home. I was old enough to take care of myself, and yet my world felt uneasy because she was not there where I needed her to be. I had made it to my house after school, but I wasn't home until she walked in the door, and things felt right and at peace. Home was where my mom was. The older I got, the more often my mom was not around, as I came and went, but the uneasy feeling of her not being at my crossroads never went away. My mom started depending on me to be home to take care of my brothers, and often they would come home, and I would hear the echoes of them asking where Mom was, and them pacing the house looking for her. I could relate to their feeling of discontentment with Mom gone. As I have reflected on this feeling with a bit of embarrassment, many of my friends have shared similar experiences. They too felt at home when their mom was there and uncertain when she was gone. This uneasy feeling is being felt more and more in homes across the country. In the last 150 years, the average of working mothers has increased 800%. That is a lot of disappointed, uneasy children who have come home from school to empty houses. As more women enter the workforce, both out of choice and necessity, the ripple effect of mothers not being home with their children are not going unnoticed. A study to examine working mothers' family characteristics and mental health showed a significant impact on children whose mothers must return to work when they are still infants through elementary school age. Those mothers with young kids who must work are at greater risk for health concerns, missing work, poor parenting, and negative child behaviors. All of these characteristics have social and educational risks as well. 70% of children under the age of 18 have working mothers. That is 7 out of every 10 children who often come home to empty houses, other people's cares, and less attention to them. Developmentally, this hurts many children, and emotionally it is felt too. As I look to Arizona public policies for children and families to see what is being done and promoted about this problem, I became frustrated and disappointed. I could not find one policy that encouraged mothers, or any parent for that matter, to be home with their children, especially in the early, crucial to development years. Instead, I found programs similar to the Boys and Girls Club to encourage after-school participation until parents got home. Efforts to increase child care subsidies to help struggling workers with child care costs. There was literature on increasing literacy to help reach children who have an increased risk of dropping out of school. Interesting enough, both parents working increases their chance of dropping out of school. In none of the government strengthening family sites could I find efforts to encourage a mother to be home nurturing her children, or the benefits that come from that. That is not the current public agenda. The focus on society is the pride in the increased numbers of women working and the rising equality of women's pay to men's. The spotlight is on working mothers and not on the disadvantage and harm it brings to children. I would like to see more money put to researching the negative effects working mothers have on children and the family. Maybe if stay-at-home moms were given the money that the working mothers are for the child care subsidies, it would help more moms financially be able to be at home with their children, especially in the early years. I would like to see money put into programs for early childhood education, otherwise known as preschool, that would benefit every single family, not just those working, low income, or those that can afford it themselves. If more policies would educate parents to be the child's first teacher, they could implement government-funded preschool curriculum online that could be free to everyone. Mothers staying home could use this curriculum, create co-ops with it, and the savings might also help them afford staying home. Bottom line, more money and time needs to be focused on public policy encouraging mothers to stay home with their children. Until that happens, changes won't take place. As a child, I was blessed to have a mother that didn't have to work outside the home. I know that it helped me be a better student, harder worker, and a happier child. I know this because my younger brothers were not as fortunate. They didn't have a mom to come home to nearly as much as I did, and their behaviors, grades, and recreational activities showed that. They still yearned to know if mom was around and where she was. But when she wasn't there, they went looking for a home somewhere else. In my own family, the effects of a mother in the workplace was more illustrating than any study could be. I know the feeling of wanting my mom home, and I see the disadvantages when a mom can't be. That is not something I want for my children. I desire that I can always be their home and that they don't long for something I can't provide for them. C.S. Lewis said, "The homemaker has the ultimate career. All other careers exist for one purpose only, and that is to support the ultimate career." Circumstances are not always ideal, but priorities and policies must be made by more mothers and communities to be where their children need them most. Children need a place they can call home. Home is where the mom is.
Thank you. That was great.
Thanks. All right. Do you two have any questions for me?
I do. Something
All
I was
right.
just kind of thinking of. So you're talking about mothers being in the home and not working and how it affects children. Does it have the same effect if the dad is in the home and the mother's out working, like if roles are reversed? Does my
Um,
question make sense?
Personally, I think that we are taught that mothers are more nurturing. I don't know that there's tons of studies to back that up. I would imagine that the benefits of one parent being home, regardless of who it is, would definitely benefit them because the first early children learn the most between birth to 5. And so either parent giving them more attention and hands-on. And my experience as a nanny, I think I was a really good nanny. But I also know that I couldn't be their parent. I couldn't teach them and love them and even devote the time that they did to them. So I don't know that there's any research on that, but I would think that there's benefit from either parent being home with their children.
Awesome. I'd agree with that.
Okay,
Christy,
one
do you have any?
question that yeah, I have one. So besides financial gain and the empowerment of women, were there any other reasons why or benefits
Did you ask if there's other benefits to women working?
No, like for the children. Like, I mean, mothers not being home, they become empowered and like they're able to have more financial security for their families, for the kids, of course. But were there any other benefits for the children with having their parents not be home or coming home to an empty home?
And you may have said this, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating it, but there's a lot of people who think that it is very important for girls, particularly, to have the role model of working independent mothers,
Okay.
and that they can succeed just as much as the fathers. I think that I feel like there was one study where they did talk about children being more independent or having to do things for themselves. And so that would be a benefit as well.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Okay. Do you think, is there anything else we need to do? I need to look at that paper.
Do you know, do we have to fill out a review for ourselves?
I don't think so.
Okay. I didn't think so, but.
And we only have to turn in, the outline of our speech and the sources that we found.
Oh, there is an outline? Does that say that?
It says, while you will not be required to turn in, oh, just kidding, it says that you do not need to.
I did a reference page.
So we just need to turn in our reference page. Okay.
That's what I did.
Yay.
And I think that's it.
So, and then Poyet, you just copy and paste the link into the.
Is there a discussion board for it?
No, it's so under persuasive speech delivery peer review.
Mm-hmm.
You just open that and post the link in there, probably along with your.
Okay. I already did my references, but I'll see if I can still do it, or I'll email it to her.
Or you can also, if you want, email the link to me and I can post it. I haven't posted mine yet.
Okay.
So we all have to post this link?
No.
I think just one person.
And all right. Oh, there is a thread, and it says you will record your speeches in a Google Hangout and post a link to your recorded meeting on this page. So.
Where's that at?
It's right under persuasive policy speech. It says family law and policy speech. It's a discussion board. The very first tab under persuasive policy speech.
Oh. Well, that's kind of confusing because under the persuasive speech delivery.
It says there. I don't know. Well, it's interesting because in the instructions, it also told us to come up with arguments or whatever, or Cassidy, go to bed. Or policies against, but we didn't know each other's speeches until tonight, so I don't know how that would have worked. All right, I'm going to stop this.